Hey everybody, let me TLDR this video for you. If you want to save yourself hours of time, keep watching. If you like playing Caldera more than necessary, click away. Now that the dust of the season has settled and we're halfway through Solstice, I've seen and heard a lot of information on how power leveling works or how people think it's working. And I wanted to kind of collate that information into one place in this video to make things a bit easier and more efficient for everyone when you're power leveling. What I want to do is share the information that is available to me so that everyone can get this grind over with as quickly as possible. So if you find this video helpful at all, please leave a like, and if you find some of my other videos either helpful or funny, please subscribe too, it would be greatly appreciated. With Solstice active, right now is the best time to be grinding power level and loot, because Solstice boosts your reward multiplier in Portal Ops, and it offers a few low-hanging powerful drops which could save you hours at the higher power levels. I'm talking 400 plus, like the +5 weapons from the reward pass, which some people didn't know about. Now at the time of editing, since it's the last week of Solstice, we've been given a score multiplier, the accelerator, so now is an even better week to start farming for power. Now the fastest options available to you are without a doubt either Solo Ops K1 Logistics or Caldera. Depending on your build and the enemy type for the day, either option can be just as fast as the other. However, I've got a few tips and tricks that will speed up your runs and might change which one you're running for the day. Starting with Caldera, Fallen is by far the quickest of the two enemy types. If you get Vex, swapping to K1 Logistics is probably the faster activity for the day, unless the Solstice Engram is available on Caldera and you really want to farm those at the same time as grinding power level. If you do farm Caldera and it is Vex, then it is possible to speed up your run by breaking the explosive containers while the Vex barrier is still surrounding the explosives. The easiest ways to achieve this is either by using Gjallarhorn, throwing a Tangle, or, while Solstice is active, throwing a Solar Flare just like a Tangle. With the Solstice modifier fired up, you are able to get infinite heavy with only a few solar weapon kills, allowing you to use Gjallarhorn freely to shoot the explosives in the cages from miles away. To complete your optional objective, I personally suggest farming Vex kills in this area just before the boss. You have 3 sets of enemies that respawn very quickly, however the fallen enemies don't spawn as aggressively in this area, and you should definitely farm the optional objectives in the starting area or at the final boss when it is fallen. Moving on, if you decide to farm K1 Logistics, then use the following tips to make the mechanics a little faster or the overall lost sector itself a little bit faster. First, if it's Hive, a high blast radius explosive weapon will be extremely useful in the beginning section to clear the Hive gunk. Gjallarhorn is once again amazing for this, especially while Solstice is active because of the infinite heavy ammo. If it's Fallen, then you can actually punch the shield generators at the beginning and completely skip having to eliminate the servitors first. Something to keep in mind is that in this starting area, you're able to pull out your Sparrow, so once you do all of the objectives, or as you do the objectives, pull out your Sparrow to move a little bit quicker. When in the boss room, if you're running Solar Titan, then you're going to be happy to hear that sunspots break the boss's shield without the light empowerment buff. This massively speeds up how fast you can do the boss room and is 100% why I recommend running a Solar Titan to farm K1 Logistics. Regarding your weapons and your loadouts, you should always run a weapon that makes getting precision kills easy. I like to use a kinetic slot high impact scout as it can one-shot when the combatant power is low enough, allowing me to use a solar energy weapon and get infinite heavy ammo from the Solstice modifiers. Alternatively, I have seen a lot of people running Choir of One for both precision kill objectives and DPS. As this does use your exotic slot on a special weapon, it doesn't let you run Gjallarhorn, but it does open up the option for running an Eager Edge sword to speed up your runs if that's what you feel would work best with your build. If you want other DPS options, then use the new rocket assisted pulse rifle Mint Retrograde, which puts in work against these bosses and champions, while any other fusion rifle can be just as useful. Now I suggest playing whatever class and build is the most fun to you, because grinding power will be soul destroying enough. There's no reason to play something you don't like just because it saves you 30 seconds. So you may as well play with weapons and loadouts that are fun, but I do suggest either a Warlock on a prismatic melee build will be great for ability kills and and total kill objectives. On Hunter, a combination blow grapple melee build will be great for the exact same things as well as DPS. On Titan, a Solar Titan or a Prismatic Consecration will be fantastic as well. Now just know that it is totally fine to swap characters at any point in the grind. It doesn't actually take that long to get back to grinding at light gear thanks to how account power actually works. It might take you a few runs to get armor drops that are at your light level, but you only need to get one piece of armor in each slot to be back up to the same light as your other character. It's important that you get and wear the highest light armor that you have, but let me explain why. The biggest question that needs to be answered is what affects loot, and it needs to be broken down into two parts. The first is what affects the loot drop before reaching 400 power, and then what affects loot drops after 400 power. As most people have probably understood, high score equals better loot, and that is true. However, what you think your score is and what your actual score is are probably two separate things and you didn't even know. Additionally, what affects your score is not entirely obvious. You may have seen other content creators say B+ is good enough, or you must get A because B+ doesn't work. Esoteric posted a great video detailing this recently about what determines the score grade or rank that you receive being B+ or A. I'll link it in the description, but the short version of his video is that it's to do with the activity score at the end, not the score in the bottom right of your screen while you progress the activity. So pay attention to that score at the end to determine if you need to change your approach or change how you're farming score in some way every run. Now your final score is actually affected by three things, and two of them are frustratingly obscure. The first and most obvious is your activity modifiers. These apply a flat, very obvious multiplier to your score, and this is extremely useful because you don't have to do an activity that is 30 or 40 above your current light just to achieve A rank. It is perfectly possible to get A rank while you are 30 power above the combatant power by barely changing how the actual activity goes or feels. By lowering your difficulty and picking what I call ignorable modifiers, you can boost your score from an easier difficulty and still remain at A rank without having the combatant difficulty raised above your own level. This is extremely important to make the runs go much faster, so pick difficulty modifiers that don't have an impact on the overall difficulty of the activity. My preferred modifiers for grinding power levels are modifiers like counterfeit or the faction drop modifier available on an activity. The logic behind this is because these modifiers don't decrease the damage that I deal, nor do they seriously increase the damage that enemies deal to me. They don't slow me down at all, and all I have to do is just keep a little bit of distance or have a couple of extra healing options. If I require another modifier on top of these two, then I usually pick blasts as my last modifier if the score requires it to push it to A. I try my best to avoid picking modifiers like the difficult threat or slow and small, since they slow down my playstyle because of the increased damage that I'm taking, as well as making me deal less damage to the enemy. I also dislike running subtle foes or chill touch, since these just make the enemies annoying to fight in most cases. By adding modifiers in this way, I'm almost 20 power above the combatants, and I'm still expected to reach an A rank score. Solstice is actually helping a lot with the modifiers. By using Solstice modifiers, you're boosting your reward multiplier without increasing the difficulty. The game automatically encourages you to play on the harder difficulties, even automatically changing you from, say, expert to master when you hit 260 power, but you're doing yourself a disservice by not going back to the easier difficulty and changing the modifiers. So this should be the number one thing you start doing when grinding power. Now, I did mention that there were two obscure things that affected your reward forecast. If we hover over the reward score forecast, we can see it says your power and your equipped new gear affect the reward that you get. First is that your own equipped power level affects your expected score. Even if the modifiers are configured correctly, if you are not wearing your most powerful piece or close to most powerful gear, your expected score goes down. Your account power, your highest possible power level hasn't changed, but the gear that you have equipped lowers your score. Having fire team power doesn't change that either. It actually makes it harder to grind. Even though your light will be brought up during an activity by the power leader, the expected score is still going to be a lower grade if you have low light gear equipped. Even though you're doing master with extra modifiers equipped, if your equipped gear is not close to your account power level, your loot will be worse. And when I said that it makes it harder to grind, I meant it. To get the best activity score, your modifiers need to match what would be, in quotes, difficult for the power leader. Meaning you will be doing content designed for somebody else, and yes, your light level is brought up to your fire team's highest level player, but you'll be 5 under their equipped gear, so even more under leveled than that player is already. If you configure the activity correctly, it shouldn't be that much more difficult, but it will still be slower than doing solo ops. So the takeaway is, if you play with a team to grind power, then you're throwing. Now the other less obvious constraint on your reward is that if you don't run new gear, even if it's the highest piece you can run, your score is negatively affected. So running a non-featured exotic, running an eager edge sword, or even running your favorite legendary primary weapon. Anything that doesn't have this blue symbol in the top left will negatively affect your score. I found that running 1 or 2 pieces of non-new gear is fine or barely noticeable, but anything more and you'll be throwing your A score away. So just run new or featured gear from now on. Now for both of these, you can't just swap your gear at the end to get the better multiplier for the mission, since every kill and objective completed is affected by the gear that you have equipped at the moment that you get the kill or complete the objective. However, this does mean if the mission starts before you're ready, unless you have locked loadouts, you can swap your gear at the start of the mission after loading in and still be on track to get the A rank rewards. Now, are bonus drops worth the effort? I would say kind of. See, at least from my testing, they did not drop at the forecasted light level, and instead dropped at +1 or +2. And since you need a minimum of B rank to receive bonus drops, the best use of your bonus drops is when your power level is pretty even across the board and you need multiple pieces. Then I would complete a solo ops that has 2 or more bonus drops for a completion. Any less, or not solo, and you might as well just complete Caldera or K1 a couple of times. Now that I've explained the pre-400 power grind, I want to cover all the information that I have about the post-400 power grind. My opinion is to avoid using the Wayback Machine until after you've reached 400 power, because this is where the grind is going to be the worst, and having as many options to flatten your light will save you hours. Now I have not reached 400 power yet. As you can see by my light level and armor, I'm not trying to hide that. I just want to make your grind as fast as possible so that we can all get tier 5 farming ASAP. Now the bad news is that once you hit 400 power, the grind really slows down because loot sources, even with an A rank score, no longer guarantee a light increase, which sucks. So now is when you have to be smart about your power increases. This is basically the powerful system that we were used to many years ago, just reskinned and repackaged. There are 2 main ways to interact with the leveling system at this point. The first way is to take advantage of weekly reset gear. This can be either the powerful or pinnacle missions, meaning the Kepler mythic weekly missions, or any event activity that has challenges and rewards seasonal bonus powerful gear, just like the Pinnacle Rewards on raids over the past few years before now, or the challenges associated with Iron Banner. Zavala also offers 2 pieces of powerful armor of your choice and 1 weapon each week as a reward for playing Portal Ops, but if you farm solo ops, you will complete all these objectives in a single day. And while it's available, the Solstice event is offering 15 pieces of powerful gear. The armor that you are able to craft from the event using the Solstice Forge provides a +3 bonus to your current light level per armor piece, and this is for each armor piece on each character regardless of your current leveling bracket. So if you are able to craft the armor when you reach 400 plus range, you will jump up a ton of power from this event. In addition to the armor from the Solstice Forge, the holofoil weapons in the reward pass are also a +5, which is amazing. It is very easy to utilize the powerful gear from the Forge on other characters as well. Don't make the mistake of thinking that you have to play on the character you want to use the Forge on. If you are grinding power on your Warlock and you need a powerful chest piece, you can switch characters and forge the chest piece on your Titan, and it will drop as if you had forged it on your Warlock, because the gear drops are based on account power. Then switch back to your Warlock and continue grinding. As I said earlier, if you aren't wearing your best gear, then your score goes down. But at 400 plus, the difference of 1 light will not affect your score by any noticeable amount. It's a difference of 4 or 5 where you will see your score decreasing. The other way to get powerful gear is to farm Prime Engram drops from portal activities, and this is the most grindable option available to you, but it is the least predictable. As far as I have been told, Prime Engrams do not have a higher or lower chance of dropping from activities based on your score. C, B, or A all have the same drop chance of Prime Engrams once you enter the 400 power range. This sounds counterintuitive, and I still don't believe it myself, because why would you not be incentivized to get the best score possible? I will pin a comment if this gets proved or disproved at a later date though. In addition to score not mattering, I've also been told that Prime Engrams have an internal cooldown, so when you receive a Prime, you will be locked out for a period of time before you even have a chance of receiving another one. Again, I will pin a comment if this is proved or disproved in the future, but I'm more inclined to believe this one, as I wouldn't put it past Bungie to time gate us even on a small scale. However, these are basically your only options to leveling from 400 to 450 power. And that wraps up everything that I wanted to share with you all today. I really hope that you find this information useful. Understanding the system has already saved me a lot of time and effort, and I hope it saves you time on your grind to 450. As a reminder, if you found the video helpful, please leave a like, and please go and check out my other videos too. You might have a laugh if you watch them. See ya.